Parc Asterix is the premier theme park in France for thrills, and it may honestly be the country's best overall park. This park does so many things well. It has some world-class roller coasters, a wonderfully cartoony atmosphere, and lightning-fast operations, just to name a few. In this video, I will explain why this park should be on your bucket list. First off, if you're from the United States like me, you may be completely unaware of the Astérix franchise. This is a French comic book series about Astérix and his friend Obelisk. They go on historical fictitious adventures together, set around the time of the Roman Empire. The success of the comics led to multiple books, 15 films, and even France's first satellite being named after the series. And then of course, there's the theme park. Parc Asterix opened in 1989. It immediately became the country's largest theme park. The park suffered an attendance dip initially when the nearby Disneyland Paris opened in 1992, but Astérix rebounded shortly thereafter, and it is now one of Europe's most visited theme parks, often placing in the top 10 for attendance year over year. So this park is often very busy, but I'll get to that in a bit. This park is located in Play, France, which is roughly 20 miles or 30 kilometers north of Paris. This is an incredibly convenient location. If you have your own vehicle, the park has a dedicated exit directly off the highway. There's a large parking lot that costs 20 euros per car. Alternatively, there are multiple buses servicing the park. There are a few companies operating buses from downtown Paris, but I most recommend the Woisy shuttle from the Charles de Gaulle Airport. You can get to the CDG airport from France's metro network easily. Then the shuttle bus costs 11 euros per person round trip. This is my preferred option if I don't have a car because of the times and availability. Buses are plentiful, as they leave every half hour, and they often start running before the park opens and continue until the park closes. If you plan to use this option, you need to go to the Woisy Pole area of the airport. This is just outside Terminal 3. Even if you buy your ticket online, do not proceed directly to the bus. You must first get your ticket validated. This is done at the Woisy Pole ticket office, which is just by the buses. Once validated, you can take any departing or returning bus. Day tickets cost roughly 50 to 60 euros to enter the theme park. So while it is one of the pricier parks in all of Europe, it is definitely worth it in my opinion. You are paying for quality. There is a half-day ticket available if you're arriving later in the day, but it's only a tad cheaper. And you definitely want at least one full day at this park to do everything. Depending on the hours and crowds, you may even want to consider 2 days. If you visit on a busy day when the park is open just 8 hours, you may struggle to do everything. Fortunately, this is a park that offers extended hours during school vacation periods. For much of July and August, the park is open from 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. daily. One thing I would strongly consider is staying on site at one of their hotels. They currently have 3. They are close and well themed. Le Quai des Lutèces is themed to a town alongside a river. Le Très Hubu and Le Site Suspendu are more about nature. The latter is themed to a suspended treehouse. I have stayed there a few times and really like this hotel. The rooms are nice and spacious. Then there are some sweet perks. You are within walking distance of the park, have your own dedicated entrance, and most importantly, you get a half hour of early entry for much of the season. During this time, 3 or 4 rides will be available. This can change by day and year, but whichever ones are open are usually walk-ons. This is a great way to quickly get a few laps on major coasters to start your day. I have gotten an overnight package for roughly 200 euros by purchasing in advance. This is a great value. This includes the room, park tickets, parking, and a buffet breakfast. So when you add the value of all those items, the room itself works out to about 50 or 60 euros, which is an incredible deal. Rates may be closer to 300 euros in summer, but I think that's still well worth it given the convenience and quality. It is worth knowing they're adding a fourth hotel that is expected to be ready in late 2026 or early 2027. I mentioned this earlier, but crowds can be a major issue at this park. This park gets absolutely slammed on Saturdays year-round, and many days from late June onwards. On an average day, expect lines for the headlining coasters to hover around the 30 to 45 minute mark for much of the day, and they can easily spike to an hour or beyond at points. On super busy days, expect the large coasters to have 60 to 90 minute waits all day long. The best time to visit this park with minimal crowds is during weekdays in the spring season, as long as you avoid holidays. On these days, most rides are walk-ons all day, and the worst line will maybe be 15 to 20 minutes at different points of the day for the headlining coasters. So how should you tour this park? If you have hotel early entry, I recommend beginning by marathoning one of those major coasters. Once the rope drops at official park opening time, guests often sprint to their first destination. For many people, that is Toutatis. This is the tallest and fastest coaster in all of France, and it is also one of the closer rides to the main entrance, so it's a perfect storm for crowds. Unless you're at the very front of that pack, I recommend starting with Tonnerre de Zeus and then heading to Gouderix. This is for 3 reasons. 1. These 2 rides are located towards the back, and they will have their longest queues in the afternoon. 2. These are the 2 major coasters I have most commonly seen operate with one train if the park projects low attendance, meaning they can back up in the afternoon even on quieter days. 3. These coasters do not have single rider lines. You will find single rider lines for Astérix and Toutatis. However, you cannot always count on them being available. The one Astérix saves a lot of time with the 4 across seating, but it's rarely open due to staffing. The Toutatis one is usually not quite as efficient, but it usually will save some time relative to the main queue if it's in use. Sometimes, it too is closed for staffing. On days it is in use, the staff will close it temporarily if it gets too full. It also tends to open late and close early, so it is worth checking this a few times each day. The best time to hit the family coasters such as Vol de Care, Tras du Hurrah, and Pegasus Express is during the last 1 or 2 hours. They usually will have fairly short waits by this point. Then Astérix is one of those parks that keeps their queues open right up until park closing time, so you can hop in line for one of the major coasters right before close to get an extra ride in. If the park is open past sunset, I strongly recommend either Toutatis or Tonnerre de Zeus at night. These 2 coasters are phenomenal night rides given their secluded locations. My biggest tip to avoid crowds is to purchase a full automatic skip-the-line service. These bring you directly to the load platform for many rides, so you often board the next train. There are multiple options, including some that are shockingly affordable. To use this service, you need to book rides in the park's app. While the park is free Wi-Fi, it did not work for me, so you'll want to have mobile data. If you don't have internet, there are kiosks by the ride entrance manned by an employee that supposedly can help you reserve a ride. The full automatics has a few different options. First, most rides in the park offer single shots. These cost 8 to 12 euros per person per ride. They are available instantly, but you're paying a premium for it. Second, there are all-day options. Bronze costs 20 euros per person. You can skip each line once, virtually waiting however long the queue is. Silver costs 35 euros per person. You can skip each line once as well, virtually waiting half the length of the actual queue. Gold costs 45 euros per person. You can skip each line once with this, getting immediate access, giving you nice flexibility. The above 3 options are budget-friendly ways to skip multiple lines. These can save you hours on the busiest of days. However, they do not include the Disco Coaster and the park's newest rides, including their most popular attraction in Toutatis. Then the park offers an unlimited option for €125. This is very pricey, but it is the best way to marathon the park's coasters. It includes all the park's major attractions with no restrictions. It even includes Toutatis. When I've used this in the past, I have been able to ride Toutatis 8 times in an hour for reference. 3 important notes. 1. These can and often sell out. They have a very limited quantity available. The unlimited option in particular is almost never available day of, but the same can happen to the lower tiers on particularly busy days. So I recommend buying these at least a few days in advance. 2. The most notable rides excluded from the service are the Voltaire Family Coaster and Espion's de Caesar monorail. If you have a full automatics and have any intention to ride these 2 attractions, either ride them first thing in the morning or at the end of the day when their queues die down. 3. If you have an unlimited option, you need to pick up a wristband at the full automatics counter. This is inside the park just to the right of the main entrance. If you want to save time, print the tickets in advance and have physical copies. If you present them on your phone like I did, they will ask you to forward the tickets to their guest services email. They will then have to print them out for you, which takes a few minutes. If you are visiting from abroad like me, it is worth noting that much of the park's signage is bilingual in French and English. However, not as many employees spoke English as I expected, especially considering just how close this park is to Paris. The ones who spoke some English only knew limited words, but I was appreciative of any English they knew because it was a heck of a lot better than my French. You probably could tell that, just listen to how I've pronounced several words in this review already. Most employees are very efficient. The ride teams in particular shine. This park has some of the fastest dispatches on the planet. The long queues are no fault of the operators. It is solely due to demand. It is frightening to think how long some of these queues would take with a less efficient crew. Most rides will have multiple trains on the course. This is most evident when watching the Tras du Jura bobsled coaster. There commonly are 2 separate trains on the lift hill at once. You rarely ever see that. But on most rides, the next train will be ready to go before the prior one hits that final brake run. It helps that guests can often go straight to their seats. On most attractions, all belongings ride with you, bags included. This is even the case on most roller coasters. On rides that do not allow loose articles such as Astérix and Toutatis, crew members will push a shopping cart on the load side of the platform to collect your belongings. This is then pushed to the exit ramp for you to retrieve them on your way out. On that note, it is worth noting that glasses are not permitted on Toutatis, even with a strap, so I recommend bringing a glasses case with you to protect them when they go in that shopping cart. I had a friend's sunglasses get warped from someone else throwing a bag atop them. This park does allow GoPros on any attraction, as long as you have a chest or wrist harness, and that even includes Toutatis. This makes the rule on glasses even weirder in my opinion. On most rides, seating is assigned, but if you ask nicely, crews may be able to honor row requests. These are most commonly granted on Tonnerre de Zeus, Toutatis, and Astérix, and it is worth knowing these later 2 have dedicated front row queues specifically as well. Sometimes these rides and others will strictly assign seats, no exceptions. It is most common on Gouderix and Tras du Jura. One final operational note is that this park runs nearly everything in inclement weather. I have been to this park in pouring rain, and everything was open. To put in perspective how much they prioritize uptime, the park covered the booster tire lift hill of Voltaire, so it would not need to close for rain. I have also seen rides continue to operate even with lightning in the area. Being from the US, I am used to coasters closing for at least 30 minutes after there's lightning strikes within 10 miles. But I saw this park continue to operate coasters when there was lightning within 5 miles. If anyone knows exactly what this park's official lightning policy is, I would really be curious to know. especially because there was an incident in 2004 when an 11-year-old boy was struck by lightning outside the Trastuhura coaster, which was still operating despite an active thunderstorm overhead. Now let's give an overview of this park. This is a fairly large park. I find it easy enough to navigate, as the layout is comprised of 2 loops. There's a small loop in the back left corner circling a pond. Then there's a larger loop servicing the rest of the park. While it is easy to get a general idea where to go, there are a few paths that may not be readily apparent. Examples include the narrow bridge connecting Greece and the Vikings, or all the different paths branching out of the Gaul area. In terms of how the park looks, I love its appearance. Compagnie des Alpes, the park's owner, has done a really good job in recent years blending theming and thrills across all their parks, but Astérix has always been the perfect example of this. This is a true theme park with multiple themed areas. Most rides have some degree of theming. Some of the themes are downright bizarre, as this park is a lighthearted and zany take on history. For example, the Zeus statue by Tonnerre de Zeus looks frightening from afar, but when you walk underneath it and look up, you'll notice he's wearing panties. Then the Trastuhura bobsled coaster is themed to a caveman learning how to stand up, so he starts running down a hill excitedly yelling hooray. The park's Zamperla Nebula is themed to a chef cooking. These all work because the park goes all out in their style. Beyond that, this park has some natural beauty. There is no shortage of trees here, and I like how a few rides, most notably Gudrix and Disco Bali, are placed on the water. Then I love how a few rides interact with the midways, most notably Toutatis and Astérix. These rides in particular look great and bring so much energy to their respective areas. Now let's run through those areas. The entry area is Gaul. It is a colorful and cartoony area that feels straight out of a comic book. It starts with a main street lined with shops. Then it opens up to a beautiful mountain with Astérix perched atop it. Then this leads to the park's primary kids area, which feels like a land within a land. Continuing clockwise, you have the Rome and Greece areas back to back. Both have that classical architecture and structures inspired by each empire. The next land is Vikings. This is smartly positioned alongside the pond, and most attractions here feature some kind of tie-in to the water. This then leads to the weirdest area of the park, Travers les Temps, or Throughout Time. When the park was being conceived, they were able to get some funding from the French government if they include an educational component. This area does that by showing 3 different time periods: Medieval, Renaissance, and Golden Age. This includes 2 indoor sections. The original vision was to have a series of shops and demonstrations. Think of what you have at Dollywood's Craftsman's Valley. But this area has largely become deserted. They still look really nice, but there isn't much to do back here. You more or less just walk right on through it. There previously were 2 different dark rides here, but both have since closed. However, this area is operating on borrowed time. The park has submitted plans to demolish it and replace it with a London-themed area. This is slated to be ready by 2028. Next is Ancient Egypt. This features the sandy color palette you'd expect. Then the land is populated with different structures, pillars, and some large fountains. Then you also have a picturesque roller coaster and Astérix circling all around you. The final area is Festival of Toutatis. This is a continuation of the Gaul area, just with carnival vibes. You have Trastuhura cycling overhead. Then Toutatis runs alongside the back side of the area. Now let's talk about the ride lineup. As I noted at the start, this is France's best park for thrills, but their lineup is plenty for families as well. Their offerings top to bottom are very balanced. As of this recording, the park has 8 operational coasters. 4 are high thrill, 3 are for families, and 1 is meant mostly for kids. That one is SOS Tornavis. This is a Zero Medium Tivoli coaster. The first drop has some genuinely awesome whip in the back, but it's otherwise a mostly gentle experience, making it perfect for younger guests. While this park does not have a true kiddie coaster, this more or less serves that purpose, while also being more accommodating for adults. As for thrill coasters, few parks in Europe are better in this area. If you want more in-depth thoughts about the next 7 coasters I describe, I already have full reviews published to the channel. Toutatis is not only the park's best ride, but it's the premier coaster in all of France. This is an intimate multi-launch coaster with an exciting swing launch sequence. You have some strong ejector airtime on the bunny hill and nice weightlessness on the far spike. Then you have a large top hat. Yes, it's trimmed, but it still offers airtime. Then the rest of the layout is a low-to-the-ground blitz with quick directional changes, abrupt pops of airtime, and 2 wild inversions. The stall offers oodles of hang time. Then the final barrel roll offers great laterals as you are whipped right on through it. This is a fast-paced and frenetic attraction. Osiris is a Balger and Mabillard inverted coaster. The ride is a similar color scheme and theme to Montu, but a far different layout. You have a handful of forceful inversions at the start, and 2 floaty flips at the end. But this ride really stands out from the other inverts by offering airtime and multiple drops. If you want the best possible experience, ride this coaster in the cooler months. It operates with faster wheels, and it shreds through the course. Under these conditions, it is my favorite invert anywhere. Tonnerre de Zeus is a CCI wood coaster, but it was extensively modified by Gravity Group to run their timberliners. And they changed quite a bit of the coaster, most notably with that incredible wave turn. They eliminated the double helix to improve the pacing. Now, there are not any dead spots. Then they reprofiled sections to have better airtime. The large drops offer nice sustained airtime in the back, and the small humps chuck you from your seat without fail. Add in some sudden lateral moments, and this coaster feels out of control. It does have a noticeable shake throughout, but I find it comfortable in those timberliner trains. It is worth noting this coaster operated with a backwards row for a short period, but this unfortunately was removed before the 2024 season. This was an incredibly disorienting experience. It was pure chaos being pulled through this layout backwards. The final thrill coaster is the much maligned Gouderix. Many coaster enthusiasts hate this coaster and find it unbearably rough. But I genuinely enjoy this coaster. I find it tolerable because my head clears the top of the shoulder restraints. I could see smaller riders bashing their head because the transitions are definitely suspect. Then I love this coaster's intensity. The first 5 inversions offer powerful positive Gs. Then the final corkscrews offer decent snap, as does the entry into the helix. I know some want this coaster torn down entirely, but I personally would love for it to get the vest restraints and a full retract like Python Efteling. The layout is good, just as long as you are not smacking your head. Moving on to the family coasters, I will start with the awkward one, Vol de Care. This is the last remaining Zier Hornet. It is a compact twister layout with guests sitting inline. The coaster is mostly slow and forgettable, even more so than other family coasters. Then it tries to prevent you from ever having a family. The final brake runs are brutally abrupt. You are slammed to a stop. And since you have a metal bar in between your legs, your crotch can get pulverized. I strongly recommend pushing your feet off the steps in front of you to prevent yourself from sliding forwards at these points. The coaster is still dull, but it no longer becomes painful if you do this. Tras du Jura is a mock bobsled coaster. It has an odd caveman theme and a much longer layout than usual for the genre. There are 2 helixes offering good positive Gs, and these parts also offer solid sway. The start is tame, as is the finale because the latter is spoiled by a trim, but it is a unique and enjoyable coaster. Just lean forwards for a more comfortable ride. Since the trough is slatted, the train rumbles throughout the layout. If you lean forwards, the vibrations are far less noticeable. The final family coaster is Pegasus Express. This is a Gerstlauer creation with 2 lift hills and 2 launches. The first half is an out and back layout with some forceful twists. The second half starts with a delightful dark ride sequence in the Temple of Medusa. You then have a fun launch backwards and some snappy S-bends because you cannot anticipate the directional changes. This has a strong case as the park's best family coaster, for now at least. That is because the park has 2 new coasters planned for the family demographics. The first will be a Gerstlauer spinning coaster in 2025 named Toutatis. These can be punchy little rides with their forceful helixes and quick dips, especially if the cars spin a lot. That is most common if you're riding in an off-balanced vehicle. The other new coaster will be an indoor intimate multi-dimension coaster. This is slated for 2028, and it should be similar to Uncharted at PortAventura if you've experienced that coaster. This will be a themed experience with launches and some trick elements. While this will have elements of a dark ride, one thing I would love to see return to this park in the future would be a more traditional dark ride. The park clearly does theming well, and I think it would complement their other offerings perfectly. Astérix was home to one that people really liked in Transdemonium, but the ride deteriorated and closed. I saw this ride standing but not operating my initial visit to the park in 2019, and it stung not getting to try it. They do have 2 indoor attractions currently. One is Défi de Caesar. This is a Vekoma madhouse. The inverting effect is convincing, and it's paired with some screens. However, from 2020 to 2023, it has been a shell of its former self. The park discontinued the elaborate pre-shows it used to feature, and they did not return. I've heard the ride was closed for a big refurbishment in 2024, so hopefully, these can come back in the future. The other is a 4D theater and Attention Menhir. I imagine this is great if you love the Astérix films, but I skipped it because it understandably was entirely in French. Now, while not a dark ride, they do have an outdoor boat ride offering a comparable experience. This is Épée de Maïs Croisière. This is a scenic water ride passing a village with all the popular Astérix characters. The scenes may have minimal movement, but they are colorful, plentiful, and detailed. On that note, the park has 2 other slow-moving observation rides. One is the aforementioned Espions de Caesar monorail. This circles the kids area and also offers views of the front section of the park. The other is Rivière de Lys. This is a circular boat ride through a beautiful garden. This type of ride is quite common in Europe. The park also has a few different water rides, even though France is known for having a cooler climate. And since this is Europe, these rides are available for a majority of the season, regardless of the weather conditions. The best of the bunch is Menhir Express. This is a Hopkins log flume with very blue water. You move through the course briskly and have 2 drops. The first is enclosed with a bunny hop, which is why some people classify this as a coaster. The second is considerably taller. Both offer a little pop of airtime if you're in the back. Those seats are also drier, as the front half of the boat can get very wet on this one. It is worth noting that single riders are not permitted on this attraction, so if you're solo, you will be paired with another group. The most soaking water ride here is Grand Splash. This is a custom shoot-the-chutes ride from Intamin. Usually, these have a simple layout, but this one has an extended floating section in between the lift hill and drop. But that part is a slow and rather dull sequence. But the final plunge is solid. It's a double down with some zip. Then as the name suggests, that splash can get you quite wet. But if that's not enough, The geysers afterwards can absolutely soak you. Romaset Rapidus is the park's river rapids ride. This one is not as wet as it may look. The rapids are not too strong in this one, outside of one wave sequence. The wettest part are the geysers, but there's no guarantee they even hit you. While it is not drenching, you move through the course at a good clip, and you get nice views of Pagos Express. The final water ride is Oxygenarium. This is a Whitewater West spinning raft ride placed in the woods. You sit in this inflatable dinghy boat. There are no notable drops in this one, but you do spin at a good clip the whole way down. This is another one where you don't get nearly as wet as it may appear. I typically come off this one dry. One thing I would consider the park adding in the future is an indoor water park. This park draws high crowds, and it is a growing resort, so I could see this being a wise investment. And Paris, as it stands, does not have a standout water park. I know this was discussed at one point, but it was shelved for the current expansion plans. But maybe they come back to this in the future. Back to the dry park. For flat rides, this park has some decent options. They have plenty of spinning rides. There are 3 in particular that you should not miss. One is Carousel des Caesar. Usually, I highlight a carousel that has brass rings or a rich history. This has neither. What it does have are 2 obelisk gondolas. And if you're unfamiliar with the comics, he is a rather large man, and you quite literally climb in his butt to ride this, which is comedy in itself. Then you can use the center wheel to spin it at a fast clip. This thing can get you dizzier than most teacup-style rides. Another is the new for 2024 ride, Torre de Numerobis. This is a 131-foot or 40-meter tall star flyer from Zamperla. While there are far larger versions out there, this is plenty tall to offer a panoramic aerial view of the park. And it rotates faster than other installations, so it offers solid thrills and forces. The best overall spinning ride is probably Disco Belix. This is a Zamperla disco coaster. You get solid spinning and some weightlessness on the spikes, but the overall experience is plussed mightily by its location. The hump travels over the midway, then the far spike is positioned above the water. This alone offers good visuals, but it is further augmented by some special effects. One pass offers a fake splashdown, and then another emits fire atop the spike. This makes the ride really stand out compared to the others out there. The park has 2 pendulum rides currently, with the better of the 2 being Cheval de Troie. This is a Zier flying carpet. While it's not particularly tall, the gondola is violently ripped to the ground in each downswing. This offers intense positive Gs, and it also chucks you forwards. There are 3 gaps in their flat ride lineup I would like to see addressed in the future. 1. They could use some sort of inverting flat. They surprisingly do not have any. I know the park considered a top spin a few years ago, and I would love to see them revive that concept. 2. They could use a large pendulum ride. If they wanted to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, they could get a giant inverting frisbee. 3. They are one of the bigger parks out there not to have a drop tower. In general, this is my favorite type of flat, and I would love to see one here. Kids have plenty to do with this park. Beyond the fanciful theming, they also have a few clusters of kiddie rides. The largest one is towards the front of the park, and there are a handful of rides that can comfortably accommodate adults as well. Then, there are a few others closer to Guderix in the back of the park. And these smaller rides are complemented by a few different play areas scattered all about the park with different climbs and slides. Parc Asterix also had some great shows through the years, but their 2 most notable ones have either closed or are closing. Until 2021, the park was home to dolphins and they put on daily shows. Then the park has a spectacular stunt show in Mombasa sur Gioconda. However, this will be removed after the 2025 season to make way for future editions. Many of the other shows smartly utilize the Astérix characters. On that note, the park also has plenty of walk-around characters, particularly towards the front of the park. The characters can get really animated and creative with their interactions. For food, there are 4 places I want to highlight. First is Restaurant du Lac. This place looks quirky from the outside because the building is made up of giant fruit, but the food inside is great. I had a delicious burger there. Just note this is a full-service sit-down experience, so it takes at least an hour. Second is the Cirque Buffet. This is an all-you-can-eat option. We tried to do this last year, but it was not available the day we visited. I had heard good things about this place between the quantity and quality of the offerings. Third is Relais Galula. This is a cafeteria-style place where you can order meat dishes that are freshly prepared in front of you. I have gotten a nice steak here. Now, important note if you're coming from the US. In France, their doneness level for steak is way different than ours. A medium steak in France is a US rare. A well-done steak in France is closer to a US medium. Fourth is Aerolaf. This is an aerial bar, so it doubles as an observation tower amusement ride. The drinks are overpriced compared to other places in the park, but you are paying for the experience. This offers fantastic views of the park, and Tonnerre de Zeus in particular. This takes roughly a half hour start to finish if you want to try it. Finally, I want to mention the gift shops. There's a lot of themed Astérix merchandise specifically. There is not too much ride-specific merchandise in general, but there is quite a bit for Toutatis in that ride's gift shop. So do I recommend Parc Asterix? Absolutely. This is an amazing theme park. I love when parks can simultaneously excel at thrills and theming. You have a trio of elite coasters in Toutatis, Tonnerre de Zeus, and Astérix. Then these are complemented by some nice supporting coasters as well, including one of the better family coasters out there. Add in a robust collection of non-coasters, particularly in the water ride department, and this park's attraction lineup is something for everyone. Then this park pairs those rides with nice theming. This applies both to the attractions, several which I mentioned already have bizarre themes, and the overall areas, and it works because the park goes all out with its loony take on history. The biggest con with this park is the high crowds it sees, but the ride crews do their best to pump people through the lines. There are just a lot of people visiting this park, and for good reason. Again, they do have a skip the line pass to mitigate this issue. It just may cost a lot depending which tier you go with. I think this park tends to be the crowd favorite in France for coaster enthusiasts. This is my personal favorite theme park in France, narrowly edging out Disneyland Paris. The latter has even better theming, but their ride lineup cannot match what Astérix offers. This place is an absolute must for any thrill seeker that finds themselves in France. You have some incredible coasters and quirky theming that'll put a smile on anyone's face. So those are my thoughts on Parc Asterix, France's best theme park. What are your thoughts about this place? Have you been there? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.